Some things have to be done right away, as soon as it's upon you to do so. Thanks to Brother Anthony, a brother of mine who asked a question about a particular prophecy. And I don't think I've ever made a video about it. And after I returned my answer to him, I believe it's necessary to let's sit down and let's open up the meaning of Zechariah chapter 5, verse 5 through 11. Let me get my reading glasses. I'm going to try to hold the phone. I just got through doing some work out in the yard and I'm a little tired, but hey, to he who has an eye to see, it's incumbent upon him to read aloud the mysteries that are given to them for those that have an ear to hear. I want you to make a note. These are there are, like one of my early teachers, Brother Nehemiah, which means comfort, and Yah. Prophecy is not singular and it's not dual, it's triplicate. It speaks both to the past, present, and future. So write down these 3 scriptures because they are witnesses, they support one another, and they are precept to one another. The prophecy is going to be Zechariah chapter 5, verse 5 through 11. Believe it or not, there was a movie made about this prophecy in the 70s. It's a movie that you may all be familiar with. It's called Claudine. Okay, keep that in mind. If you've seen that movie, keep that in mind as we read it. Also, the second reading will be Revelations 18:7. That is the sister verse and precept to this. And I believe it also touches on, I believe it's, I better make sure my accuracy is right. As for my people, children are their oppressors and women rule over them. I won't quote exactly what scripture that is, but Google it and it'll tell you. So let's begin with the reading and then let's open it up without causing too much delay. King James Version. Okay. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up now your eyes and see what it is that goes forth. And I said, what is it? And he said, this is an ephah. An ephah is a basket. It's a unit of measurement. It's like a bushel. Okay, we're going to discern what those things all mean in a moment here. And he said, this is an ephah that goes forth. He said, moreover, this is their resemblance throughout all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. A talent is a form of currency. And this is a woman, keep in mind, one woman, singular, that sits in the midst of the ephah. And he said, this is wickedness. Make a note of that. The angel that was talking to Zechariah was the son of Yah, the son of Yahushua, the same one that came in the flesh, died and rose again. He's also known in the Old Testament as the angel of Yahuwah. Okay, so he said this is wickedness. And he cast that talent in the middle of the basket or the ephah and the lead upon the mouth thereof. Then Zechariah lifted up his eyes. He said, I lifted up my eyes and look, and behold, there came out 2 women. And the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then I said to the angel that talked with me, where are they carrying the ephah? And he said to me, to build it a house in the land of Shinar. That's where, I'll tell you in a minute. And it shall be established and set there for her own base. Now, let's make clear this. I have to let my eyes adjust after reading with those glasses on. First of all, an ephah is a basket. That basket was symbolic of a place of refuge for a woman. Now that, I'm going to tell you plainly, that speaks of where we are in this day and this dispensation, the black woman. All prophecy and all the books refer only to Israel and what we're going through from our eyes and our viewership. He called it wickedness because a stork is known as a bird that's known for its careful attendance and propensity to its young. Now, initially, There was one woman that sat in a basket. That basket was symbolic of her place of refuge, her home. The son, Yahushua, cast a talent, which is a form of money, into the basket where the woman sat, and out came two. That was a mother-daughter. They had stork's wings. That speaks of this welfare system that this wicked nation instituted, where instead of having a man or a husband in the home, the government pays women and rewards them to bear children and not have a man in the household. That's why he said this is wickedness. Now, recall the scripture we just spoke about where it was written, and it's just not coming to me right now. For he said, as for my people, children are their oppressors, like we see today, and women rule over them. You know, women are being exalted to a position of authority over men, and that is wickedness. And we're gonna go further. Well, we're just gonna continue on opening up this prophecy. And as the two, remember, there was initially one woman. He cast a talent into it. Out came two with stork's wings, symbolic that though the women, the nature of that mother-daughter would be one of attending to her babies, her young, her children. And then they lifted up the basket, which was their house, their place of refuge between the earth and the heaven. That means that that particular home and wicked family structure would be exalted. And when Zechariah said, where are they carrying it to? Because they flew off, and he said they're going to establish it on a base in Shinar. Shinar was where wicked Nimrod, that's his name. That's where the Tower of Babel was. Okay, that was a wicked land. Modern day, America is mystery Babylon. It's only a mystery to you who love it, and you don't see it as that. But it's clearly Babylon for those whose eyes are open. So that prophecy and vision that was given to Zechariah at that time spoke of the times we're living in now. Now, if you turn to Revelations 18:7, and the spirit of mystery Babylon was likened unto also a black woman. And I just say black loosely, Hebrew women, because that same wicked system has caused our women's heart to become so exalted and haughty that they call themselves queens with no husbands, and that they ain't gonna see no sorrow. And they're propped up. Think about this now. They're propped up by the beast system. She sat on the back of the beast. Hebrew or black women, that Jezebel spirit, are the only women on earth that calls themselves queens and Jezebels. I mean, not Jezebel, bosses. So all three of those are in agreement. And that tells you right there that the Son plainly called it wickedness. Okay? Shinar, if you read the book of Yasha, it goes into great detail. There was so much wickedness that happened there. There was a lot of worship of false gods. Shinar is in Babylon. It was a vast land that the children of men sought to build that tower. And it was so wicked, you have to get the book of Yasha and read it. And that's what caused Yahuwah, and I believe it was like 200 angels or so many angels with them, and they came down and confused the language or the tongue of most men. Only a few continued to speak divine language, and that would be in Abraham's day, Abraham. But nevertheless, write those down and read them. They all in agreement. And that's what is meant when the scriptures say line shall be upon line and precept upon precept. Here a little and there a little. So as you study the scriptures, you will really study them. You know, over the years, things, and if your heart is really on it, Yahuwah will write them in your heart. And when you read another one, another scripture will be recalled to mind that'll show you where it's in agreement. And then he will inspire some men who have an understanding to make it plain for you in a video like what's happening now, because some of you are just too busy being worldly. You know, you're too busy calling out to each other on social media, doing vain things that ain't gonna get you into the kingdom. So the few of those of you who would hear this and understand the meaning of that prophecy, you understand what the Son meant when he said, blessed is he that read aloud the words of this book. When he was speaking to John the Revelator in Revelations, read out loud means to make it plain, to reveal plainly the mysteries of that. So be that as it may, that is the meaning of it. It is a wicked system. You had a mother-daughter system, no man in the house, no spiritual covering. They came out of the back after he cast some money into it. It's a funded welfare system. Also, that promotes child sacrifices and abortions and things. And they lifted it up between the earth and heaven, which means it was going to be exalted. Then you can go to Revelations 18:7 and see the end result of that. And you see that when they flew off, they established it. And when they flew off, that lets you know that that was in the future, that was going to happen in a time afar off, which is now. And they established it on its own base in Shinar. My apologies to you, brother Anthony. I think I used the word Dudael. I'm forgetful sometimes, but the proper word was Shinar. Shinar was in Babylon. It was in Iraq, in that same region. And that's where Yahuwah confused or confounded the languages because of so much wickedness. That were, Nimrod was, he was the one that started a lot of false worship. In fact, Abraham's father, Terah, I was just talking about this with my mother the other day. He was wicked. He worshiped a bunch of different gods made out of wood. I know I'm getting off track here, but in the book of Yahshua, it said one day, and listen to this, I love this, as Abraham, young Abraham, he was young, and at that time, I think he was like 40, it might have said, the spirit of Yahuwah was upon him in the midst of the house. And this is what he did. He told his mother, I would like to go find my father's gods and see if I can find favor with them. Now, I'm paraphrasing all this. Make me a savory dish that I may set it before his gods. So she made him a savory dish, and he went in there. He had like 12 teraphim made out of wood, and he set the dish before him. And it said, and a day came by, and none of them spoke, none of them ate or anything. And they said, and then as Abraham considered it, the spirit of Yahuwah came upon him heavily, and he took a hatchet and destroyed all the gods except he had one big one in the front. And he said after he tore up all the gods, he put the axe in the big one's hand. And then his father was coming home. Now, his father was the head of Nimrod's army. So he was like Nimrod's right-hand man, for those of you who didn't know that. And he heard all the ruckus in the house. And Abraham ran, and he saw Abraham leaving the room with his gods. And he said, what you mean by this? What did you do to my gods? And this is what Abraham told him. He said, Father, he said, I had mom to make me a savory dish so that I can honor your gods. And I sat it before him. And listen to this. He said, and before the big one can stretch forth his hand to eat one of the little ones tried to eat before him. So he smashed all of them. He took an axe and smashed them. And he said, behold, the axe is still in his hand. And Terah was like, are you serious? You expect me to believe such nonsense? And then Abraham said, then why do you pray and worship something that can neither hear, see, nor has no spirit in them, nor can deliver you? Then he ran in and smashed up the big one and ran off. Okay. Now, don't tell you, this is just a little extra for those of you who never read the book of Yahshua. And it also said that, listen how wicked, and it's the same way in this day. Terah was so angry that he found Abraham. Now, when he went and told Nimrod about it, Nimrod was like, bring him here so we can put him to death. His own daddy turned him over, him and Haran. Haran was Abraham's older brother, and he was also Lot's father and Shara's father. So Sarah, her name was Shara, was actually his niece and Lot's sister. But long story short, it said that Haran didn't really serve. He didn't walk perfectly before Yahuwah. Basically, he believed in Abraham as his brother, but he was kind of like straddling the fence saying, I want to see what becomes of him, then I'll worship him. So long story short, Nimrod condemned them both to a fiery furnace, and they cast them both in, and they said Haran, his brother, was reduced to a pile of ashes. But Yahuwah, just like Azariah, Hananiah, and Mishael, delivered Abraham. And he walked in the midst of the fire for 3 days. And it even scared Nimrod. Nimrod called him forth, and he said he praised his God for a minute. And then he gave him great wealth, camels, servants, and everything. So all of that came from him serving Yahuwah and sent him off. But needless to say, Nimrod returned back to his idol worship, which is one of the great sins because there's only one creator, that's Yahuwah. And that was the God that Abraham served. It says Abraham went in the way of Yahuwah from birth. So that's just, I got off subject, but that's just a story that it's not a story. It's the scriptures in the book of Yasha that if you read it, there's so much wisdom in there. It's one of my favorite books. But I wanted to make this video because one of the brothers asked about it, and I don't think I ever made a video showing you plainly what Zechariah 5:5-11 mean. It's this wicked welfare system. The son himself called it wickedness. Not having a man, because a man is the woman's natural covering. In fact, the woman was made for our purposes, because so that we wouldn't be alone as a helper. And then this satanic fallen angelic satanic system that we're living in, diabolical system. And they did it only to us. They though we've done nothing to them, they turned the word upside down. And it's and it reminds you of the Willie Lynch papers to exalt the woman. You know, even to this day, women are not supposed to be exalted. They're supposed to be helpers. They're not powerful. They're supposed to be weak. They're not as strong as men. The earth was stretched forth for man. Man is the image of the Father, not the woman. She's the image of something different, but she's a helper. The Father has a helper too, but she's not the head. So I wanted to make mention of that, and you have other scriptures that verify that. And I believe it's in Isaiah when he said, as for my people, the children of Israel, us Hebrew Israelites, Negroes, AKA Negroes, whatever you want to call as far as the bywords, he said, children are their oppressors. Look in the streets. We got our men wearing skinny jeans because there's a lack of fathers in the house. Our young men are effeminate. They don't know how to fight. They'll take your life. They don't respect the elders. And our daughters are whoremongering. They're dressing like prostitutes with purple hair and bonnets. They're disrespectful. They don't know how to be wives. It's out of order. And women rule over them. That's why men are not marrying no more. I mean, we were never supposed to get married according to this wicked system anyway, because biblical marriage has nothing to do with a ring and all that ceremony. The act of sexual intercourse. If many of you would get that through your thick skull, your thinking might change. And it's not called cheating. It's called adultery. The act of sexual intercourse is what consummates a marriage. Believe you could find that in Deuteronomy, I want to say 21:13. Check it out. And that's what was meant when Aduam said, therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That's the act of sexual intercourse. Yes, Adam was a prophet. He was the first. And he prophesied when he said that. So I had to jump on it right now because I just felt this was a good time to reveal the true meaning of that particular vision in Zechariah. So with that, I'll say peace be with you, shalom, and I like to keep the videos short and simple. If I made any mistakes in speaking, I always will correct them in the comments. Thanks.